O.J. Simpson is dead, but TRB is back, baby! Welcome to TRB Live. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Resistance broadcast. I'm John. That's Lacey Gilleran. And for the last time on TRB Live, I think people might be a little bit confused because James will be here on Monday for our 700th episode. But our last TRB Live for him, James Baney. So what's going on, guys? James, I'll get to you in a second. Gilleran, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm going to admit that intro caught me off guard because I didn't know you were going to mention that on the show.
So whoever starts with O.J. Simpson is dead.
Especially because I heard his name come up and I immediately thought of the social posts you've been putting out, John, about how the murderer is still out there. And I was like, no, we're not doing that. We're not.
Yes.
We're not.
Well,
no.
Let us not forget that O.J. Simpson said his biggest priority once he was acquitted was finding the real killers. And I did see someone else joke that O.J. Simpson can now rest because Nicole's killer is dead.
It popped up on my Apple Watch as like a news update when it happened. And I was like, doing stuff at the end of the day. And I turned to Matt and I was like, oh, OJ died. And Matt was like, what? What was his last tweet? And he like immediately, I was like, why is this a thing? But I guess it is.
His last tweet was, where'd I put my gloves? As far as I understand it. But, so yeah, but that's one of those, like, for me, born in 1982, I remember exactly where I was when the whole Bronco chase happened during the NBA Finals. I remember where I was at school on the football field during gym when they announced the verdict. Like, that's one of those moments in our lives, that for people who, were around. I know some people were like born after 9/11 that are probably on this live chat, but yeah, if you were around
talking about it, is that relevant? Like, I remember people around me talking about it and me not caring because I was like,
well, you were like 6.
I was like 5.
You probably thought they were talking about like orange juice or something.
What year was it?
94, and then the verdict probably came out in like 95, 96.
Yeah, I was like 5 to 7.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened. So that timestamps this episode, but what also timestamps this is, James, your last TRB Live, dude. That's the same day, absolutely bananas, man. I've gone through a lot of the morning period, but here we are still doing these shows. But yeah, I know we have a bunch of super chats we'll get to in a minute, but just wanted to get your quick thoughts on and quick, James. Your quick thoughts on your last TRB Live, man.
No, I mean, incredible. I'm excited for the show tonight. I think we have some good topics to talk about. A lot of the Acolyte stuff, is a little bit of what we've been discussing. But excited to talk about Outlaws. That looks really cool. I still have a few more Bad Batch episodes, so I'll still be on the channel for a little bit longer. But last live episode, guys. So I hope we're having a good one. And I have my show on Monday, but I'm never positive, maybe there's one day I do come back. And John, if you ever need a way to describe me before I come onto the show, I do have a couple ideas.
Unbelievable. So James, for our audio listeners,
John's showing everyone his pajama pants.
yeah.
James, well, that wouldn't be the first time. Business up top, party down below. But James, for our audio listeners, James just dramatically unzipped a jacket to reveal the Man, the Myth, the Legend t-shirt, which he knows I loathe people introducing guests that way because it means they don't have anything real to say about them.
Yeah.
But James, if you ever do return and you do a guest spot at any point in time in the future, I will 100% introduce you as the Man, the Myth, the Legend.
There you go.
Thank you. That's one of your best trolls ever. That is Oh man, if I didn't have this like slight pit of sadness, I would laugh a little harder. But very good. Well done. So we're off to a good start. I don't know what other tricks Danny has up his sleeve here, but I wouldn't mind if 12 tacos had just arrived at my house in 10 minutes. Actually, I would. I can't deal with that right now. My whole house is sick. You don't want that entering my body right now. But anyway,
Yikes.
listen, we have a great show.
Can we not use phrases like that?
What? What's the matter, Gilleran?
I said, can we not use phrasing like that? Entered my body. Like,
All
what
right,
is
fine.
happening right now?
How does it enter, John?
Palpatine's
Can you explain?
spirit enters different clone bodies. Why
There you
can't
go. All
the
right,
spirit of
sure.
Taco Bell enter my body? All right. So before we get to
Mhm.
the super chats, we have to first thank everyone who's joining us live. Make sure you are subscribed to TRB. You know where to find us, audio, channel, stuff like that. We are carrying on. TRB is carrying on. Lacey and I will share a little bit more details on the Monday show, which is our 700th episode. So check us out Monday. All three of us are going to be together to sort of look back on how far we've come. Also talk Star Wars, and at the end of the show, we'll sort of let you know what we're doing in terms of make a brief break or anything like that. But tune in Monday for the future of TRB. Not all the details, but the next step as James rides off into the double sunset. But so thank you everyone, and we do have super chats available if you want your comments read on the show, and we are doing Ask the Resistance later, so pop your Star Wars questions in the chat with hashtag Ask the Resistance. But George Lucas getting what is Google told me is one of the most prestigious honors to get in film, which is the Palme d'Or of the Festival of Cannes, and
The
he's
way
getting that.
that Google told me is important.
Yes. What? I was like, is this
Didn't
one
know
of
about
those
this
just
one until
because like if people have the money and they push for it, they can get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's like
I feel like Harrison Ford got this last year, didn't he?
they've all been sort of getting Spielberg, Williams, Lucas, and Ford are doing like the tour, and they're all getting these like things. But Lucas is getting it at the 77th Cannes Film Festival, and he said, THX 1138, he got to debut there, so it means a lot to him, and it's good to just hear from George Lucas and the fact that he'll be attending to accept that award later this in late in May, I believe May 25th.
Yeah.
After his 80th birthday. So it's just great to hear that Lucas is up and about and accepting this honor, which is obviously well deserved. So I don't know if
I
you guys
wonder if
any
it will
other
be recorded, filmed.
I
I
would imagine
speech and stuff.
get a speech. Yeah. It'd be cool to see how he's doing, because he did seem. Remember, James? He seemed pretty ginger at the indie premiere.
Seeing him in person, I was like, that guy's old.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think part of that is because it's really been a long time. I mean, the last time I can really think of seeing him in any sort of public space was like The Force Awakens, wasn't it?
Solo.
I mean, maybe
He
there
was
might
at
be other
Solo.
things. He was at Solo. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But I mean, it's been a while. And so, tack
Yeah.
on more years. And even those were just like probably brief interviews or quick glances. But
Yeah. Celebration 2017 in Orlando for the 40th. He was there for.
Mhm.
I think that was his last celebration, though. Because in 2019, he sent the video for the Phantom Menace. Remember?
it was his last celebration or will be his last celebration.
Good question. Yeah, if he feels like attending for the 50th anniversary, wherever that may be, hopefully stateside.
Yeah, it's
we'll
a good
see.
point.
But
Yeah.
it's good to see him get that honor. Now, yeah, we do have Resistance Report to get to, and we will, but we do have super chats.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get into those. So first up, we have Gary24 fan. Thank you so much, Gary, for the super chat. He said somehow ... Gary24 fan
There he is.
returned, and he
Gary's
does like
back.
a thinking emoji.
Thank
No
you,
better way
Gary.
to super chat than about yourself. You're like, hey.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary. Next up is Andrew Staley, the best Andrew Staley. He said, thank you for the super chat. He said, just wanted to say thank you, James.
Andrew, thank you, man. I want to say this too real quick. Andrew reached out to me privately and did some really nice things. And so he's such a great guy. Everybody follow him on social, reach out to him, make friends. He's a good person.
He is a good
Andrew
person.
is the best.
Next is David Ford. Thank you so much for the super chat. He said, TRB is my ride or die Star Wars podcast. I'm here till the end. Thank you, James, for being a part of this wonderful family. In tears as I write this. David, you just said you were in tears on our Patreon video. Like, are you?
Yeah.
All right.
David Ford, constantly crying.
Next is Darth Snips. What up, girl? She said, cheers to your next adventure, James. You'll be missed, and I hope you come visit us soon. Thank you for everything, and may the force be with you always.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next is Mike Ramori. What up, Mike? He said, James, my man. Love you, brother. Thanks for all the great times. John and Lacey, you're not allowed to go anywhere. I don't know what I would do without TRB. You all are the best. Mike, I saw your video that you put up. It was so sweet. Your little message and video that you put up on Instagram for James. That was so nice.
Yeah.
Matt's up. What up, Matt? And he said, sources are saying James is taking time to write a Star Wars movie. LOL. Thank you, James. You're the man.
I'm doing Andor season 3, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I figured do the Kanan Jarrus standalone adventure.
That would be fun. Like in between, like meeting Hera and then
before he meets
Order
them.
66 stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be pretty cool.
And last but not least is Miles. What up, Miles? How's it going? He said, what a time to be alive. Hashtag Outlaws. Hashtag story trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
We can get to it.
Yeah, we will get to that in just a minute. Yeah, thank you everybody for sending those. The TRB community is just a classy group. That's what it comes down to. And we appreciate all your support now, past and future. Oh, and we have another one. Jeez,
snuck in here. Kyle. What up, Kyle? He said, having a Fallout release party tonight, but walked away from my own party because I wouldn't miss James's last live show for the world. You will be so missed. Family comes first, though. The base says thank you for your service. I'm assuming it's the little salute emoji.
Yeah. Kyle, man. Gosh. He said some nice things in Patreon, too.
He's so sweet. Kyle's the best.
Yeah.
All right. That is now it.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
And hat tip to Ken Knapsack at Force Center. One of our listeners posted in our Discord that he stopped his show toward the end to give a nod to you, James, and to TRB and how we've conducted ourselves, but also specifically you, and wishing you well in your adventures. I'm sure you heard that.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was sent over, and I was like, oh, I got to check this out. And yeah, like I said, it was really nice to hear. And, you know, sometimes you have conversations with people and you don't know what they really take away from it, but to mention like, you know, some of the conversations that we've had and like, it's memorable to him too. It's and just nice, you know, everybody's
hey, James, look,
nice
someone just found the podcast just in time for your last live show. So
just found
Resolute.
What's up?
Resolute Rebellion.
Hi.
Just found you.
Bye.
Yeah. Don't get too attached. All right. So, James, we do have the Resistance report. Bad Batch, a lot of cool stuff to talk about. So let's fire it up, my man.
All right, here we go. Resistance report.
It's the Resistance.
All right, so here's the thing. Everybody's wanting to talk about Star Wars Outlaw, but before we get there, let's talk quickly about the Bad Batch, because there are just a few more episodes. That is the series coming to an end. We just got episode 12, leading into the reveal of a new character. I don't know if we want to talk about it. We'll probably talk about it, but not a new character, but a returning character. And then we just got 13, 14, 15. 13, 14, 15 left. 3 episodes left. What are our thoughts on episode 12? My thoughts are on the reaction show if you guys want to go check it out. John, what do you think?
My favorite part of this episode was the bridge scene and seeing the Bad Batch crew working together. It did feel like a very serialized sort of A-team episode, which is what this show was pitched as. So it was good to see, like, as this show's rounding out, there's been so much heaviness, drama, death, you know, kidnapping. It's good to see them round it back out to like the fun element of it. Now, granted, there's high stakes in what they're doing and why they're doing it, trying to get Rampart, who I assume that's who you're referring to.
Yep.
But in the way they were doing it, reminded me a bit of Solo, reminded me a bit of like an old Western, but also sort of like the A-Team. And I enjoyed that part. And I just have this weird feeling that it's going to still end well for the remaining Bad Batchers, including Batcher and including Omega. And I think what's her name, who was doing the tests, is going to do something.
Oh,
Why
Emery?
can't I think of the name? Yeah, she's going to do something to either create a diversion or sacrifice herself to help Omega and the other kids get out. It's going to be like sort of a happy ending to the show. So I'm not as stressed as I was a couple episodes ago. That's just a prediction of mine. But overall, a fun, solid episode that I think is setting us up for, even though it had a dark ending where Omega's walking into her new quote-unquote home, I see the sunshine ahead, for lack of a better term.
And I definitely like the idea. Like I think I said in my reaction was like, there is an easy way for them to get to Tantus, right? Just stick the tracker on the back of that ship and then go there. But I think the reason they've chose to go this extra route was not just to add episodes to the end of the series, but to show us a little bit more about what the Empire is actually hiding. And instead of just making it really simple to get to this ultimate secret base, they want to show you that it's actually very difficult to track down and to get to this thing. So I like that they're taking the extra steps. I said another thing, I didn't have Rampart on my bingo card for season 3. But I like the connectivity. It makes sense when you can say, hey, let's put a bow tie on this. Let's bring back and call back to things that even happened in the first season to really make you feel like you've come along a far way. And I, in my review, I think I even said season 2's Rampart, and then I was like, oh no, that's like season 1. Like we have come very far since
he
this
wasn't in
character.
season 2.
I don't think so. I think if he was, it was like the very beginning of but season 1 he was the villain, and then in season 2 the villain switched. So but yeah,
it'll be interesting, how they end this thing. But and the music, very like noir, have that sci-fi feel, especially when they're at Tantus. Reminded me a little bit of Andor, a little bit of like Blade Runner. Very interesting from the Kiner crew, which I know the whole family's involved now.
And Lacey, I always hate putting you on the spot, but like anything about Bad Batch currently?
I always listen to the music in the episodes and see what people are talking about the music, but I did watch some of this episode, and I have to say that it never ceases to amaze me how dark these shows are, only because I think from complete outsiders, not knowing Star Wars, if you were to guess, you would think that this is like a children's show, and I don't think that's the case. So like just hearing John talk about it, I agree, like it's just really dark, and I'm interested to see where it's going to end. Like obviously they're tying it to so many different things. Are they all going to die? Are they going to live? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
The closest live action Star Wars I would connect this to from a feel is Andor. Like the prison, the testing, and like the Dr. Pershing, like all that.
You're 100% on that. You know, a couple other ones too. I related it to Solo, because you're on top of the train, the thing,
I get
and
that.
they're going off the cliff and they got to jump to the ship. There's that whole thing. The other connection would be Rogue One, because you're breaking into like a work camp to rescue an individual who might be of use to you for one specific reason or another, for the good side, So it felt very Star Warsy. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Like at the end of the day, like it felt first and foremost very Bad Batchy, because it's like a heist or whatever. They gotta get in and get out, and that's just their mission. But at the same time, what we're saying, like you can see Mandalorian, you can see Rogue One, you can see Solo, you can see all these different Star Wars aspects to the show. And again, just hat tip to season 3 being I think universally the best season of the show so far, and really rounding out that whole like thing that a lot of these shows have done, like as you get to the later seasons, it's like you haven't been watching, you need to like catch up. Like I know it starts one way, but when you get to the end, man, it's all worth it. You know, you'll be so glad you stuck through the whole show. So I recommend The Bad Batch for anybody who hasn't taken the time to watch it. Go back and blow through it. It's all on Disney Plus. You can get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Then,
thumbs up on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep in mind. Oh well, actually, let's just go ahead and get to the Star Wars Outlaws stuff because I know everybody's wanting to talk about that. I'll go ahead and while we're discussing it, I'll pull up the trailer so we can kind of keep it in the background. But I don't know. What do you guys? That's Acolyte. Yeah,
he's in the Star Wars Outlaws. What?
Guys, so this Outlaws trailer dropped. We've seen the game in theory before, but this is the first time we've gotten the actual story. So we kind of have an idea of actually what is going to be the gameplay, the story, right? How we're going to get through this and make it I don't know what I'm even saying. The point of playing this game, I think, is the story and not just the gameplay itself. Did you guys, when watching this, did anything raise your expectation for the game as far as I just kind of saw, motion and characters, nothing really jumped out at me, but now that I know what the point of the game is and the story and how it is all connected to everything, did something jump out at you? I'll start with you, Lacey. What are your thoughts?
I am super hyped for this game. I thought this trailer sold me on it 100%.
There you go. Yeah.
I was excited that there was a new game coming out, but as you guys know, I've talked about it before. I'm really into like the first person shooters, the Battlefront stuff like that. I tried playing Jedi Fallen Order and all that stuff, and I'm terrible at it. So hopefully I can get a little better at this one. But I mean, how can you not? I don't care what anybody says about fan service. The moment you see Jabba the Hutt or Han Solo or Qi'ra, I'm like,
right.
I need this game right now. I needed it yesterday because this game looks like an absolute blast. I don't care what people are saying online about the main character or they don't want to play her or whatever. I don't care. If it's a good game, it's a good game. And it looks legit. I am a little disappointed that this isn't a show we're getting or a movie that we're getting, because I think that this story itself is something that the three of us have constantly said we wanted told with the different syndicates. And I know John Kasdan has talked about how he had plans after Solo to tell this story. So again, this might just be a subset of that story, but I really hope that it then goes back into live action as well. But I mean, it looks amazing. I can't wait to try it out.
I think it's set far enough away from Solo that it doesn't totally crush anything. But yeah, this is like, I mean, it starts off with immediately being like, look at all of these crime syndicates together and like, what can we do? Yeah, John, talk a little bit about this, because I know one of your tweets was like that, how this sort of ensures this idea that John Kasdan pitch would have been a good one, because here it is,
Yeah, so we've said this on a bunch of things that we've watched where you almost forget that it's not a show or a movie. Like Lacey was just saying, James, you said that about Fallen Order. So when I watched this, I was thinking like, oh, they're finally giving us the syndicates. And it's like, but I don't have a PlayStation 5, so I'm not going for the ride. I'm going to have to watch, the story mode on YouTube or whatever, or upgrade my system. I have a PS4. They're not putting out for PS4. That's fine. They don't want my business. That's okay. Listen, it's free market. But in terms of this, yeah, when I saw, that it's between Empire and Jedi, and
very cool.
So it's you got Han Solo frozen on the wall. You got Qi'ra coming back. We'll talk about it, but not voiced by Emilia Clarke. So that's interesting. And then Jabba in the mix. So you just get the taste of what could have been with that tweet that John Kasdan posted with the logos of all the syndicates. And I mean, a second Solo would have just been on fire if they followed that plot. So I'm glad they're at least doing it. But to your point, James, it's taking place well after the events post Solo, pre A New Hope.
Oh, there he is. Sorry. I get so excited when I see Jabba.
No, yeah, absolutely, and it looks great. And
Oh
it
my
breaks my heart a little
God.
that I'm not seeing this in live action with Alden Ehrenreich. So it's a little bittersweet for me to see this. If I do get a PS5, I would absolutely buy this game and play it. As of now, I don't have the ability to, but this is certainly a game I would play. Also, open world. You know, you get to explore the Star Wars galaxy in one of the most popular time frames in the saga's history between Empire and Jedi. Who knows who you can bump into? This game's going to be loaded with cameos and Easter eggs and fun spots for you to actually visit. The way if they made those spots at a theme park that we could go visit it. So it's going to be that type of feel, but also clearly has a very fun adventure story, which is great for Star Wars because it can sort of be juxtaposed against the Jedi Fallen Order stuff, which is very heavy Force, heavy Jedi, heavy, dark side. This is more of swashbuckling adventure fun. Your Indiana Jones, your Han Solo type stuff. So that's in my wheelhouse too. So hopefully I get a chance to play it one day. Maybe it's Celebration next year. They have consoles. I don't know. But I'll be following this one closely because like Lacey, who's a bigger gamer than me, I haven't heard you say you're on board for a Star Wars video game in a long time. So you seem like the old Battlefront 2 feelings that you've had are back for this one. And I'm sort of feeling the same way.
I'm just going to play the DLC Jabba mission like over and over and over again.
That's it.
Which funny tangent. Today I had my daughter we were in her bedroom and she was bringing books to me to read. And she brought me the little golden book droid book, which has all the droids on the front of it. And I was just like, okay, who's who? And she'd go C-3PO, R2-D2, BB-8. And then I'd open it up and she'd go, Chewbacca, he's a Wookiee. And I'm like, oh, cute. So then we switch the page and there's a picture of Jabba, like in his slug glory with like drool. And she takes the book and hugs it and goes, "Aww." And I was like, okay, why not? So it made me laugh.
All
I was
right.
like, there he is. And I got all excited. And I guess it runs in my blood. The excitement for Jabba the Hutt.
I think when you're an adult, everything small is cute, and when you're a kid, everything big is cute. You're like, I just want to hug it,
Yeah, she was like, she goes, "Who is that?" I was like, "It's Jabba," and she goes, "Aw." I was like, okay.
Don't put any salt on any slugs you find out in your sidewalk this summer. Yeah. Oh boy.
I think the story looks fun, looks interesting. I'm not like super compelled by it because it does sort of feel a little niche, like sidestep a little bit. I know they're throwing Han in there and Qi'ra and stuff, but it does feel like this could just it's sort of a little bit separate, sort of in the world. That's a good thing, but it doesn't like super, get me hyped. One thing that is interesting about this game to me is that it does have the potential of sort of opening up a new world of fan favorite stuff. Because for the longest time, we've talked about like the people who are in Star Wars for like the political reasons. There's people who are in Star Wars for the lore Jedi and the wizardry, aspects of it. And then there's this other like sort of Mandalorian meets bounty hunter sort of world. But like, there's not really a lot of content yet that dives heavily into the crime syndicate and people who are more or less just like trying to steal things and be smugglers. Like Han, for instance, that's where his character starts, but we've not really explored other characters. And this is sort of that character kind of coming to life. Another Han Solo that's in it for the money, and not really any other thing, but just sort of like an adventurer, swashbuckler, like you mentioned, and how they interact with the world, not being political reasons, not being like lore fantasy reasons, but just actually like this black market kind of world of crime and stealing and theft and heist and all that other stuff. I think
Cormier could be that in Acolyte, as we've kind of discussed a little bit.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, and like I said, it could open up like a fourth sort of fandom to everybody being like, man, I didn't know I liked Star Wars, but I didn't know that this spoke my language. I didn't know I was waiting for this to happen. I will say too, the Indiana Jones game had the same effect for me. I'm like, doesn't look that good. Like, I don't know, like the actual in-game trailer stuff that a little bit like, obviously it's not full motion video. That stuff looks great always. But when they're showing the actual gameplay, some of the characters are like, I'm going to do what I need to do to get out of it, you know, and I'm a little bit like, did you guys get that at all? Cause especially since they've been talking, you know, a lot about how this is going to be the most beautiful game with ray tracing and everything. I don't know if I'm missing something because I'm not that big of a gamer, but I look at it and I go, looks like a video game.
I think the uncanny valley thing is something they still haven't conquered. And with you know me, I am horrified of the potential escalation of AI. I believe Terminator can really happen one day, maybe not in my lifetime.
Yeah, I don't think people understand how much it's going to blow up in the next few years, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
it's technology moving quickly already.
Moves very fast. So the next 10 years could get quite scary, but I don't want to take us down a dark place. But my point is, until they start making the eyes look real and feel human, I think the uncanny valley is that one thing that they're not going to be able to hurdle. Like everything else, I think looked really good. The environments, the ships, the motion, the movement. But the human faces, I'm like, that's where we're at, 2024. Like, I'm not saying it looks like it's GoldenEye or like the old wrestling games from N64,
Max Payne, or
yeah, but
LA Noire or whatever.
It's still like it's sort of like when a movie has no more budget and they just cut the corners with like one thing, and it's just like we can't perfect the faces anyway, so we'll just do the best we can. Because if you slap a pair of goggles on one of those characters, then you're like, ooh, that looks really good. Then you see the eyes and you're like, oh, not real. So, but yeah, overall, and who am I to nitpick? I still play Genesis games and Nintendo games, so it's, you know, but
I'm and not to be too punny, but I think the game is going to be massive. And I also wonder, like, what does that mean for the longevity of the game as well? Because yeah, there's a story, but there's a story to Diablo, but people play Diablo over and over and over and over again, and they're still playing it to this day because they can keep patching it with more missions and things. So it does make me kind of wonder, like, is this a game that they are setting up to be? Yeah, they play the story, but they could add on to this game in the future with more missions for this character and just kind of keep it going instead of making a 2, they could just ride this game out and have open world interaction for years to come and keep these people on. Because Jedi Fallen Order, to my understanding, doesn't really have that. They've added things, sure, but the point was to sort of tell the close story and then work on a second game. And I'm curious with Outlaws if there's maybe not an intention for a second game, but actually just like to keep the story going for a long time. But that might be my ignorance in video games. I don't know.
I think DLC is always, you know, a big factor for companies, especially if people are paying for them, because it's just money into the business. More
and
things
pre-orders and all the $130 game that they're launching that everybody's backing away from and having a big problem with.
As for the video game graphics, I agree with you guys. I think the people definitely aren't, I would say, you know, someone was saying in the chat, I think JG from Space was saying it's not photorealism. I completely agree. There's something still a little off, which it looks like a video game to me. However, I think the locations, if you were to take the people out of these locations, they would look incredible. And that's what I think of when people tell me like, oh, this game is the most beautiful game ever. Take the people out of them, take the moving objects out, and just look at the landscapes. They're stunning. You can take a screenshot and put it as your background on your computer, or frame it and put it in your house. These are just stunning locations. And for me, that's one of the biggest draws is you get to see all these different places in the galaxy. And I'm hoping, which I'm assuming there's going to be, new places to explore outside of the ones that we know. I'm sure there's going to be some planets that you're going to go to and be like, ah, yes, this is this planet. Maybe we're going back to Tatooine again. But
I think we are. Well, we are, obviously. We go to Jabba's palace.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just hoping that there's other stuff also. And the fact that this is kind of like the seedy underworld, there's just something so exciting about going into back rooms and kind of like looking around, which seems to be a big aspect of this game. But there's so many different facets of Star Wars to like, you know, there's Earth-looking planets, there's spaceships, there's all these, so there's like just so much stuff for everyone. Like look at that location. They just showed like this like beautiful kind of Arizona-esque background.
You're absolutely right too, quickly, because like Fallen Order is a lot of ruins and empty space. And so far everything in this game, I mean, minus literally the shot that we're looking at. But for the most part, a lot of it is city based and looks like there's a lot of people and rooms to go in and explore and probably find hidden characters like we were talking about earlier. Very cool.
Yeah, I just can't help it. Like I saw that clip of them pushing the new protagonist into frame in front of Jabba, and I'm like, that's supposed to be Alden Ehrenreich. Like that's what that's supposed to be.
She's even kind of dressed like Alden Ehrenreich.
It's a little upsetting. I'm sure. Like I bet he'll never say this because he's a class act. But I bet John Kazan watched this thing and he's like, you got to be friggin' kidding me right now.
Because how many times over the past year and a half have we heard of people that have pitched things to Lucasfilm and then they end up making it somewhere else?
I know, it's just like
or using or borrowing ideas. Yeah,
they could still do the solo stuff. Like if this game becomes a hit and the Lando movie still gets made, that's still going to be in that time frame we're talking about for a solo too. So I still hold hope that we are going to get some threads in live action with Donald Glover, and I hope that does get made. Be a bad look if that doesn't get made. But
yikes.
Anyway, this should be fun, and I hope everyone who has modern latest consoles enjoy it, and maybe I'll catch up with you one day.
You might be able to do it on the computer, John.
Yeah,
I don't have a PC.
I'm tempted to do computer.
Can you not do it on a Mac? I mean, it might not be like super powerful, but you got an M2 or something Mac. Like,
yeah, well, I'll call you. We'll talk about it.
John, you can watch me play it.
All right, yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll come watch you play.
I have a gaming computer.
I was going to say, Lacey will set up a single person private Twitch account so John can tune in.
This is what will happen. Okay, so we have a bet. Will Yoda show up in the final?
Should I become a Twitch gamer girl? I have the the cat ear headphones.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
no,
I was continuing
not
the
on,
thought. You jerk.
So when I win that bet that Yoda will not show up in the next Acolyte trailer and Lacey owes me a full pizza.
No, we didn't say the next one. We said a trailer for Acolyte. There's no tweaking of bets.
There's one more trailer. Whatever. So what I'll do is I'll have you get the pizza delivered to your house, or I'll send you out to get it. I'm not sure. And then I'll eat the pizza and enjoy watching you attempt to play this game. That's what will happen.
I don't know about attempt. I'm like not bad at video games.
No, I'm saying like first you try out the game, see how it goes.
Yeah,
you did say that you were bad at Fallen Order and hoping to get better. So,
okay, to be clear, I'm bad at the jumping and timing it properly onto latching onto things. If you're talking about like button mashing or like running around or fighting things, like I love Kingdom Hearts, which is like kind of like an MMORPG, which is fighting and doing that thing. The jumping things always annoy me. The timing where you have to like jump and then latch on. And it's at the beginning of Jedi Fallen Order where you like climb up this grate and then you have to time it perfectly where he jumps sideways. No one can do this.
I think this game's going to be the same way. Sneaking into stuff.
We'll see.
We'll see. John, you mentioned something that we were going to talk about later. We never did it. Emilia Clarke not coming back to voice the character.
Oh my God, we didn't talk about this at all.
We didn't talk about this at all. So quickly, Yeah, you mentioned we'll probably talk about it later. We haven't. But so here's my thoughts on it just quickly. I think that might actually point to her having a pretty large role in the game and not just a cameo. I think Emilia Clarke would be totally fine to get in the closet or whatever and voice a couple lines for the character, whatever needs to be done for a game to reprise that role. I don't think she's trying very hard to separate herself from Solo necessarily.
Oh, no.
So my thought on this is I think Qi'ra might actually have a lot to do in this game to a level that they said we would need a commitment from you for like this many hours or this many days to in order to accomplish this. And she said, get a voice actor.
I think it's money.
I mean, it could be, yeah.
It is pricey to pay a celebrity like her to do these vines when you can find someone that sounds just like her for an eighth of the price, a quarter of the price, half of the price. But I'm not saying she's not worth it, by the way. She's totally worth it. She should get paid. I think everybody should get paid what they're worth. I'm just saying, if you're talking about star power, they don't want to pay her to do these lines and have the access to her, like you're saying, when they can pay someone that sounds just like her.
That's a lot of coaxium. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a factor in terms of like, what that means about how she feels about Star Wars. I don't think that's it at all. I agree. Right. I think that's the nail on the head right there. The whole, cost element of it, and then maybe the time. It's just, because I always, I'll tweet something about like, man, this sounds like this could have been used in the Solo sequel, and people will undoubtedly reply. There's always one doofus who's like, well, wouldn't Solo 2 be called Duo? I'm like, dude, you are 6 years late. Someone made that joke. But then I get the ones like, well, Qi'ra's back though, so that's great. I'm like, she kind of, but it's not Emilia Clarke. It's not the actor who brought that character to life. It's different. It's just different. Like, if they did a Solo 2 animated show and Jonas is not involved at all because they use Wookiee sounds, that doesn't make me happy. and Alden Ehrenreich doesn't voice, like, it's like, yeah, I guess. Or it's like, oh, what if they made a book Solo 2? I'm like, no. I want to watch.
It's kind of like Lego, though. Like Lego gets all the people that sound like those characters, but they don't like. Yeah. I didn't think the guy that was Poe sounded like Poe at all. And then like Rey didn't sound like Rey. They just got some girl with a British accent. We're like, you're Rey.
It was me. It was me. I didn't tell you guys. I was waiting for James's last live show to tell you guys that it was me who did the voice of Rey in the Lego Holiday Special. And you're right, 1/8 of the pay. That's exactly what it was.
It's funny because I thought you were mentioning all the people not returning, and I was like, do you think Han will be in this game? And then it dawned on me, A, he can't because he's frozen, and B, he's in it. He is already in it.
He's already in it.
Yeah, he can't be in it, and also he's in it. So it's kind of funny. And I wanted to also touch on this too, just quickly, because I know we all probably enjoyed the eclipse. Did you guys... Were you able to see what you were able to see? We never clarified that. Did you get a partial? What did you do?
It definitely happened here because my room went dark because I have a skylight in the room that I'm in, so I could tell that it happened.
What's gonna happen?
Okay.
Yeah, you were able to see a partial, but not total, correct?
Yeah, we got a partial one, but it was very cloudy, so you didn't see anything from where we were.
Oh, that's a bummer. I was so nervous about that the day of, but we actually had clear skies.
I watched a video. Didn't harm my eyesight, and it was lovely.
Yeah. I go ahead.
Well, I'm saying Johnny had, I'm sure Bennett did too, in school. They had the glasses with a paper plate over it. Just in case your kid, just in case your kid tried to do one of those deals. Yep. A Breakfast Club. But so he got home in time enough for me to still see it at the tail end. So I put those on. And I'm in my front yard with a paper plate on my face. And I think a guy walked by with his dog. He'll probably never walk that way again. And then I am looking up at it to see it. And I also did this before everyone got home, mid work day. I took my phone and like leaned it out from my porch and tried to snap photos of it with my iPhone. And then I looked at those too.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you got nothing because the camera didn't have any like protection or ISO block. Or did you run it through the...
Do you not know that I have an iPhone SE? So it's
rock solid. You would have been fine, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did get to enjoy totality. So it was actually really cool and like an awesome moment to look up and see the black hole in the sky. It's pretty awesome. It was lasted for what, like 3 minutes or whatever. But there is another reason that I bring up Eclipse, and that's because as we talk about Outlaws, the game that was announced after Star Wars Eclipse, what's going on with that other game? I'm gonna put it down. I don't know that game is ever gonna come out.
It's been
Considering
shelved.
they had a cinematic trailer that was released in January of 2022. I think it's been 2 years since that game came out, and there's been no development on it other than we're pushing it back like multiple years. Like, I just think it's like, how do you get to a point? It honestly makes me wonder too if that cinematic trailer was actually nothing to do with the game and they had no story, no anything. They just made a bunch of really cool random stuff that's like the feel of what they wanted to go for. And when if that game ever does come out and we look back at that trailer, we'd be like, this is just stuff. This isn't none of this happens in the game. This is just like ideas. It was almost like a pitch trailer, I think. But so weird for them to not weird for them to develop it, but weird for them to publish that and say, look what's coming, everybody. And then just nothing.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's clearly been eclipsed by Outlaws, so we'll see.
Yeah. And Hunters too, a little bit like in a weird spot, but I do think that game is coming. But Star Wars Outlaws is coming. Get excited. It's right around the corner. Quickly, we are going to do Ask the Resistance at the end of the show. So again, another reminder to send us questions in the chat and make sure you use that hashtag Ask the Resistance. But speaking of things that have been sent to us, do we have some super chats?
We do. So first up is Frank Grande. Hey man, what's up? Thank you so much. He said, love you guys. If there's a bright center to the universe, then we're on the planet closest to it because TRB and James helped make that happen. Thank you for everything. Best wishes to you going forward, and may the force be with you always.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much.
You're the man, Frank.
Next, and of course, it wouldn't be a show without Freezy.
There he is.
Freezy2324. Thank you for the super chat. He said, may the force be with you, James. We'll miss you, man.
I'll miss all of you guys too. I'll be around.
Next is Cal Beckworth. What up, man? Thanks for the super chat. He said, James, really love what you bring to TRB. You'll be missed a lot. I wish you the best and hope to see you around. Pray hands. Do you think we'll get a Grogu cameo / mention in Bad Batch? Thanks, TRB.
Should we save that for later?
We can. You want
or James? Do you just want to answer that right now?
Man, I hope so. I kind of don't think so. I don't know. That's tough. It would make sense right now to throw that in there and pull some connections and stuff. But so far, the show hasn't really been leaning into like, remember, the Clone Wars or remember this thing, other than Asajj Ventress. I think that's probably like the one thing that they sort of like made that connection there. But for the most part, the show has really been like steady as far as like, this is our show. This is our tale to tell. And a lot of times, as much as we like to predict things in movies like, oh, do we think the villain is really going to be this person? Surprise, and they connect it all together. At the end of the day, it just kind of comes down to, no, we made a new villain and here's their story. This is this person's property. So I think this is the Bad Batch's show. It would be cool, but I kind of don't think we're going to get Grogu. If anything, I mean, it would have been neat if it was Grogu that was kidnapped, and like, it doesn't really have to add too much to the story other than we would know that, Grogu obviously gets out of this facility in some way. So it might take something away, but it would have been neat to maybe have that been the kid who gets kidnapped. But
yeah, good answer.
Awesome. Christian Morales. Look who's returned, Christian. Thank you so much for the super chat. This is insane, Christian. Wow. He said, James, it's been a ride, man. I assumed wild ride because everyone says wild ride, so I apologize. James, it's been a ride, man, and part of the journey is the end. Family must always come first, and I wish you the absolute best in any future endeavors. James Baney may be leaving, but Jimmy
Oh.
Dong's chili dogs will remain forever. Love you, dude. See you around, buddy. And he did the woo rocket power symbol.
Oh my gosh.
Throwback to the people who know what rocket power is.
Yeah.
Um,
And the weird reference to our show. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
Gosh.
god.
It's so
yeah.
funny. Every once in a while, people throw out these like inside joke references from like 4-5 years ago. And I'm like, there's a quick second where you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about.
What
And
is
then you realize
donkey
what it is.
drip sauce, I think was
Yes.
the name of the
Yeah. So that was a real thing, I think.
Save
I
the
don't know.
story for Monday. For our 700th episode.
All right.
Let people
Yeah.
enjoy. Tune in on Monday, our 700th episode. We'll go through
It-
some of those funny moments.
And if you think for any second that James leaving means I'm not going to say Jimmy Dong's chili dogs on this show going forward, you are sorely mistaken.
Yay for me.
It's my Chris, where's my Han Solo for our patrons.
Chris, what up, buddy? Not this Chris. Different Chris.
Dude, Chris Morales, amazing,
Yes.
dude.
Thank
What-
you.
Thank you so much,
I mean,
Christian.
what a good dude.
Then of course we have Nyx. Nyx, what up? Thank you so
Gosh.
much for the super chat. She said can't stay, and I'm assuming GB is Great Britain with the
Sleeping.
sleep face. Woke up just to say thanks for everything, James. I'll miss you on TRB. Love to you, John and Lacey. I'm thrilled my dream of having Star Wars character named after me has finally come true in Outlaws.
Yeah.
Little furry sidekick companion, love it. You know what's funny, Next? I was watching the trailer earlier and I was like, how awesome to have the character be like this really adorable, wonderful character. Now you have to literally collect every single item that this character is on
Mhm.
or made of or whatever.
Yes.
It's so cool. Thank you so much for the super chat. As always, you're such a
Thanks,
wonderful
Nyx.
person and we really appreciate it.
And people need to like when that character blows up, we will make sure everyone knows that you were first, Nyx. You're
OT
the
Nyx.
OG Nyx.
OT.
Yeah.
The OT OG Nyx. Yeah.
OG Nyx. Yeah.
All right. And that is it for now. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, let's talk. Thank you, everybody. Means a lot. The other part of the show is going to be talking about the Acolyte stuff because we got multiple new images, coming out of the show. A lot with some of the Jedi that we haven't yet seen, which is pretty cool. And a little bit more details about some of the characters' motivations and what we're going to see out of this person or this person, which a little more details. John, you were talking earlier about how it's a little disruptive, how sometimes a magazine, and they all do it, these magazines will get some information in the exclusive of this, and the way they roll it out is just like dragging it out over all this stuff, and every article is just like a little bit more information. So instead of going through each and every one of these articles and all these photos like as a story, it's just sort of like let's just kind of talk about the Acolyte in general, what we've learned from these new interviews. Lacey, was there anything out of these articles as far as the new images, specifically about our new Wookiee Jedi, or possibly Vernestra Rowe being now older and wiser? I think they said 116, I think, something years old. Crazy at this point. What were your takeaways from the articles and images?
Well, I think Kelnaka, which is the Wookiee character, which is played by Jonas Sotomo, is my favorite character going into this show. I am obsessed with the fact that he gets to be a Wookiee. He's told us before that he'd love to be a Jedi. And even in this interview, he said, ever since I was 5 years old, I've been fantasizing about being a Jedi, like every kid. When the word Jedi was first mentioned, I felt really excited, like a little kid who finally gets his favorite toy on his birthday. Like, how can you ask for anything more for someone? There's nothing better, and I don't care what anybody says, there's nothing better in life than watching someone succeed at what they really love. Like watching someone make their dream happen. It's just such a wonderful feeling to see that happen for him, because I think he's been nothing but an amazing ambassador for Star Wars and for Star Wars fans. that for him to get to carry on in this universe and play a similar character, what he's known for, but like an even kind of cooler version, if we're being honest, he gets to be a Jedi.
Be able to change it too. He talked a lot about that.
Yeah, I'll let you talk about that, James. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm so excited for him. And I can't wait to see like the press tours with him on them, because he just brings such an energy with him that he's like, "Hey everyone," he's like yelling. And one of my fond memories of Celebration last year was the three of us screaming when he came out on stage, because at first they had him come out in costume and they didn't say who it was. And then they had him go backstage, change, come back out, and the three of us stood up and were like, "Jonas!" And he looked at us and waved and stuff, because he was like, "Oh, someone's yelling my name," and it was just the three of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super hyped.
I stood up.
Yeah,
I was so happy.
Have other thoughts about some of the other pieces, but we can come back.
Yeah. Yeah, my quick thing on him doing this part was, I thought it was interesting because he says, you know, he learned how to become Chewbacca. And in the case of now playing a different Wookiee character, he has to bring certain elements of what he's learned about playing a Wookiee to this character, but also having to differentiate it from this character because it has this personality. Like Chewbacca is this type of a character and he plays this role in Star Wars. And this character is completely different in the sense of like, he's a Jedi and he's more attuned to these aspects of Star Wars. So it's like, how do you bring what is true about this species, but not true and entirely different than a previous character that you've played in the Star Wars franchise, which is neat too, because not a lot of people, obviously there's a few, but not a lot of people get to play multiple characters in Star Wars. So it is interesting to get to see that. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he was not Black Chrysanthemum. We have
No,
he was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is awesome for him. Yeah, I'll toss it off to you, John. Any thoughts on Jonas and Kalnaka?
Yeah, very excited for Jonas, no doubt about it. I've obviously, you know, been pushing for him to come back as Chewie. I still think that's going to happen in the Rey movie. So I think whatever bank owns Jonas's house, the mortgage payments will continue to come. He will be. But as far as this character, I do think he looks very cool. I'm not gonna say I think it's cooler than Chewie. I'm not going there. Not gonna do that. But I think with this character, I hope Jonas gets a moment where this character isn't just remember they had the Wookiee Jedi. Oh right, okay. I want it to be like how sort of K2 had his big moments, and like I want this character. It doesn't have to be a death. I want this character to have a moment where, like, dude, remember an Acolyte when that Wookiee Jedi did blank and saved this? I hope that he's more than just on the outside of the crew. Like, you know, in TV shows, there's always like
BB-8 was that. It was like, oh, it's like an R2 droid kind of.
Yeah. And
BB-8.
even with, you know, human show ensembles, there's usually like, if there's an ensemble of 8 people, there's usually like 3 or 4 that get the lines, and most of them are just sort of there. Like, I hope he gets to be involved as the way Daphne Keane is going to be, the way Lee Jung-jae is going to be. Yeah. So I'm obviously super pumped for Jonas, and everyone knows that we are. So I'm excited to see him being excited promoting it, because he's just a great person to experience his excitement for this stuff, which is real. So, and I think he probably knew something when he talked to the 3 of us at his booth at Celebration about wanting to be a Wookiee Jedi. So
he brought it up. I think even when he was on the show, he brought it up. Like, I
think he did. Yeah. So yeah, he always did the well, you never know thing. But for other things, like to bounce around, the other thing.
One more thing about him.
Oh yeah.
I think what it looks to me based on the trailer so far, I think we're going to see something that happened in the past, and he's going to be involved, and he'll say a couple lines here and there and do some things. But I think what I'm getting from it is that something happened back then that has forced him to say, I'm just gonna go off and live the rest of my life as a peaceful Jedi over here. And they do have to go and get something from him, which makes me think that when they get there, he's part of the conversation. They need to have a conversation like, how have you been? What is life like? There's a reason we're here, though. We need you to tell us something like this. And he's going to have this whole thing where he's like, I don't want to revisit that. Or, there's a reason I left and went into solitary for myself. Like something happened and there's a reason he lives on his own. And that makes me wonder how emotional of an episode are they going to be able to deliver on when like this person doesn't speak English? Like, are they going to break the wall of this character having subtitles, or are they really going to play like that? They go to this Jedi who's been living alone for years and just have the conversation of like, he makes a noise and they go like, he says it's over that way,
Yeah.
Like
I think they've done a pretty good job of emoting like Chewie over the years. Like when like the campfire scene in Solo, when they're like, what's your story? And he sort of tells about how his people and his family,
tribe.
and Han translates it for them. And it does have, and John Powell's score soared over it. I got emotion out of that. When Leia dies and what Jonas did with that, I really enjoyed. And
oh my gosh, yes, the
when
Leia
Han
scene
dies
is
and how he freaked
heartbreaking.
out. Yeah, so I think that they'll do a good job with that. James, I do think you're right, and I think we've talked about this on this podcast where it feels like one of those things with something happens in the past and they sort of have to get this gang back together because everyone remembers it or knows something or experienced it, and other Jedi don't believe them. So it's going to be one of those things. I do agree. It's going to be something like that. So
what other takeaways did you have?
Yeah. So Lee Jung Jae or Jai, I think it's Lee Jung Jae, but either way, yeah, I'm not worried about him at all. I think people are going to fall in love with this guy. I think he already has a lot of capital built up with fans from Squid Games. I think this guy's going to be like a no miss. The one thing I'm most curious about now is, because she is apparently going to have a big role, is his Padawan, Jackie Lan, who's going to be played by Daphne Keane, X-23 from Logan. They're saying that she is a very devoted Padawan, very opposite of like an Anakin who was trying to challenge his master, but that she's so good at being a Jedi, she's actually a better, quote unquote, a better Jedi than Jedi Knights who are already, through the trials and already are masters. And that's where Jord Fander comes in, who is played by Charlie Barnett from Russian Doll. He was the male lead in Russian Doll. And I think this might be where we get the humor in the show. I think these two being sort of the, not R2 and C-3PO, but sort of like a buddy pairing, that he's going to be like a little annoyed that she's so good at things. And that's where we're going to get some of the dose of humor that the show will probably need in order to alleviate us from the suspense and the tension and the scares and all that stuff.
I'm getting a Shin Hati vibe from her. Like, not someone that necessarily is like killing people and is a bad person. I'm saying like a very kind of dry, sarcastic, observing type character that like chimes in when she needs to, but doesn't say anything extra. That's the vibe I'm getting from her. Plus, they kind of look alike a little bit with the wigs and stuff. Whereas the other character, Jord Vander, he looks very outgoing, talkative. These are the rules. This is what we should be doing. But I agree with you, John. I think that they could have a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah,
I think she said, they say that she's very by the books. So I feel like he would, say something like, we should just break into this or whatever. And she would be like, no, we have to do it this very specific way. So they're going to kind of odd couple in that way, I would imagine. Because I don't think we know a whole lot about him, but I think they said something about, maybe too good for his own good or something along these lines. So I think maybe that like gets him into trouble sometimes.
It sounds like he's dying in that description. He's too good for his own good. Is like, you dying.
Yeah, could be.
Look at you, predicting death now.
I
Come
think
a long way.
I think that kind of description, like he's too good for his own good, or like he's too righteous for his own good, is like, well, clearly that guy's dying. Like he's gonna try to be the good guy. You're gonna like him. You're gonna be like, oh, this guy's really doing some awesome stuff, and then they're gonna be like, kill, so that you were like, oh man, sacrifice.
It's gonna be the final episode of the show, and it's gonna be one of those like Dallas cliffhangers where it's like who shot JR, and they're gonna show this guy get killed. And
You
he's gonna
always bring up this show. Are you a big Dallas fan?
I'm not, but it's notoriously one of the biggest cliffhangers in TV history that wound up being bust because it was a dream and all this stuff.
Every time that there's some type of guessing of like death or talk about death, you're like, so when in Dallas when Dallas happened.
I was raised on all sorts of TV, but anyway, he's gonna get killed, or let's modernize it. Usual suspects. He's gonna get killed. We're gonna see death in his face, but he's not. This doesn't spoil anything. But you're gonna see death in his face, and he's gonna say, "I can't believe it was you," and we're not gonna know who did it. And then it's gonna be like, "Stay tuned for season 2 of The Acolyte if it gets greenlit by Bob Iger," and that's gonna be what happens.
Everybody in the chat is lighting up about Dallas now. Guys, I know what Dallas is. I'm just laughing at the fact that he always brings it up.
Man of the people. All generations. Gen X, I got your back. Whatever comes before Gen X. Gen V. Was it Gen V? TV? W? Gen W.
No,
probably.
Boomers come before Gen X.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, they weren't all letters?
Gen X, Boomer, Gen X, Millennial.
Boomers is sort of the derogatory term, but baby boomers, yeah.
Baby boomers. Yep. Anyway.
Okay, Boomer.
I think this show is going to be great. I know she talked about her wife playing Vanestra Rowe. I feel like we've talked about that already, though.
Yeah, I could pull up. We have some new slides with that character.
Who's cosplaying as Leslie Headland on set at Celebration next year?
I was going to say, they always have these gigantic puffy coats, and I'm like, do they keep the sets really cold? Which I'm assuming they probably do.
She looks like George Costanza.
They're in
the Gore-Tex coat.
She does, but she looks like George Costanza wearing like a Drake outfit or something.
No, how about this? George Costanza and Jay from Jay and Silent Bob put together, and you got Leslie Headland on the set of The Acolyte.
It looks super comfy, to be honest. That jacket
does look very comfortable. Yeah.
But I was laughing at that jacket when I was looking through these other articles too, because she has it in like all the behind the scenes, and I kept thinking like, are they just keeping that set really cold? Because it's such a big jacket. But I did like how Carrie-Anne Moss talked about her, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a little bit of anxiousness because like similarly, actors talked about Rian Johnson this way, where they're like, few times in my career have I ever trusted a director and trusted their viewpoint. But I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no. It's
because you think that they would be like, wouldn't my character do this? And then the director's like, no, it's even better. They're gonna do this. And they're like,
and look,
okay, I'll do it. You know,
I'm the person that does trust Leslie Headland.
Yeah.
I like what she said. I've said this numerous times. Like, she's a big fan. She wrote fan fiction when she was younger. She's really into it. I just see these quotes and I get flashbacks of Last Jedi where, you know, Mark Hamill's like, look, he's the director, so I trusted him. Or like when Daisy Ridley was like, I've never done anything like this before. And like people were like, we hate it. So I'm like a little nervous when I see those quotes that they're like, Carrie-Anne Moss is like, once in your, you know, every once in a while in your career, you get like matched up. What did she say? Where you're talking to a filmmaker and you just go, oh, they totally get it. They know it so well that I trust them. First of all, love that quote. It basically touches on everything I just said about Leslie Headland, about how she's like so deep in the lore and the understanding of Star Wars. But outside of that, on the fandom side, I'm like, oh no, it's happening again.
But didn't she also, like, people went bananas over this. Like, she also brought in writers that weren't Star Wars fans to balance it out.
She brought one.
Yeah. So that's cool, because knowing the lore and all that stuff, I love hearing that, because I like knowing that they care about this stuff. And I think that is important, especially as new generations are taking over stuff from the originals, like Ghostbusters, and like these people are real fans, and like Jason Reitman, you know, that's that type of stuff. But with this, it's never a guarantee because I love JJ's Star Wars movies, and he grew up a Star Wars fan and made him want to become a filmmaker, as did Steven Spielberg. But some people are like, oh, he was too much of a fan. And then you have those similar people like Andor, because Tony Gilroy's like, I think Star Wars is terrible and I'm gonna make it. And
I'm gonna gut it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you never know. But I'm excited for the show. I feel like at this point I don't need much more info.
Right. Or
Feeling pretty
Yoda in a
good.
trailer.
I'm eating that. I'm getting the pizza. I think this. I'm so confident in this bet at this point. I feel really good about it.
You know, how do you guys feel about Vernesta Rowe? As far as some controversy over, like, I don't like bald. I wish we had the purple hair. That would have been really cool. I saw a little bit of that, and also the fact that she looks fairly dang young for being as old as she is. Confirmed now she's over 100 years old and has seen like most of these older characters grow up and has long since watched all of the High Republic characters die off. So now as she sits on top of the throne of being a Jedi Master, one of the highest in the council, how do you guys think that this character is going to be? How involved do you think the character is going to be? Because I might actually see this show as her death.
I don't know a lot about this character because I'm not really into the High Republic books. I'll admit that. They've just gotten away from me. There's so many. I have read up on her and like where she stands in the saga, but I'm gonna agree with people. They're saying it in the chat. I know they've been saying it online. I think she should have purple hair. I think that would have made it. I'm a big Star Wars hair girl. I love all the different hairstyles. I always say that. You guys have made fun of me over the years when there's a trailer and I'm like, did you see her hair?
Right.
I get so excited about like the hairstyles. And look at what we're looking at right now. We're looking at her. She's bald. And Master Soul has like the messy Rey hair from The Last Jedi, which I don't like. I feel like Star Wars hair is like one of those things that growing up, I was like, all the space buns and all the elaborate braids. And like, there's just so much like elegance and cool sci-fi space fantasy to it when it has cool hair. So I'm really missing the hair. That was a long tangent about hair, but I feel
no, I mean, I brought it up and I don't disagree. I think that the purple could have added something special. I think it makes it a little bit more science fiction-y, and perhaps they were trying to stay away from that. But
maybe.
my hopes is that, you know, with this character has a purple light whip, and you know, I would think that if there's plans for her to use that in the show and sort of surprise everybody by having this really cool lightsaber we've never seen in live action, like, wouldn't you think it'd be kind of nice to tie that in with her character design? Or are you really like not giving her the hair just to keep the purple aspect of her a surprise? You know, and if you took that away too, and you say, well, in her later years she got a green lightsaber, I'd be like, well, what are we doing? You know, it doesn't even feel like it's the same character anymore at that point.
Yeah, they've been really dumbing down, and I don't know if dumbing down's the right term. They've been really playing down the costumes in the live action stuff lately. Like, they don't seem very otherworldly. They just seem like very layered costumes for people on Earth. Like, if you were like, crap, I forgot my winter jacket. Let me throw on 3 sweatshirts and a belt. And like, they're like, here you are, you're in this outworld place. And you're like, okay. Like, when I think of Star Wars, I think of like Padme and Princess Leia, where they have these like really over the top costumes. And I understand their royalty and I get it, but there still is a piece of it that I wish they were a little bit cooler. And I think with Jedi, you can't do much because they're wearing robes. So they could have done something really cool with her hair. I think it was a missed opportunity to do something fun with her hair. As for her age, I don't know what the story is with the aging of her species. The other day in actual life, they admitted that they're going to have something that could have people aging up to 200 years sometime in the future, which is insane. So I don't know. I hope I look that good if I'm over 100.
I mean, Leslie Headland seems to be the type to make sure everything has not a purpose, but that there's an understanding of why something occurred. And in the article, she says that Ro is no longer like this adventure-seeking Jedi, and she's more like the sort of more nervous and stoic and non-moving Jedi of like the Phantom Menace era. So
Mhm.
maybe that comes with that. Maybe it's sort of like, I had long hair in college and then I got a haircut. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Maybe it's just using the character's look to show something about them that has changed. Like
Or
the
maybe she
freedom.
finally snapped and got bangs like we all do when we get upset.
Totally.
It could be, yeah, cutting off the hair could just be a commitment to selflessness. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
don't necessarily need identity or something that makes me stand out in a crowd. Like, I want to be as self as I can. You know what I mean? Like,
Or blend in. Like if you have that big purple hair and it's like this,
that's a
it's
good
like
point too.
the
Yeah.
sign of freedom, having long flowing hair and whatever. All of a sudden she doesn't have that hair. It's more subdued. It's less noticeable. It's less standout. And maybe that, stuff, the stuff she's been through, as Leslie Headland puts, is being physically indicated here as an easy storytelling trigger for us. But anyway, show looks cool. I can't wait till it comes out. I can't believe we are less than 2 months away.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Great stuff. Can't wait for the show. Do you guys I know we have at least one super chat. But do we want to head into Ask the Resistance or do the super chat now?
Yeah. Let's head into Ask the Resistance. We'll kick them off with the super chats.
All right.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
All right. What do we got, Lacey?
So first off, we have David Probus, our buddy, Proby-Wan Kenobi. Thanks for the super chat. He said, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Proby-Wan the Wise? I thought not. It's a story the Jedi would tell you. Darth Proby-Wan was a Sith Lord so powerful, he gave out super chats.
Love
Thank you
it.
so much, David.
Thanks, David.
Is it possible to learn this power?
Yes. Next is Thomas. Hey, Thomas, thank you so much for the super chat. Is this your first super chat? I don't know. It doesn't say. It usually says if it's your first one. If it is, thank you so much. I think it
Thank you,
is.
Thomas.
Thomas said, hey guys, really enjoying the podcast. Love the up-to-date content on the shows and news on Star Wars. Thank you, Thomas. He said, what's y'all's favorite background resistance or non-resistance character? James, I'll let you start.
Resistance character? Is this like the faction resistance or the show resistance? Probably
I think he's talking live action.
I think he's like, anyone who's a part of the resistance.
Any part of a favorite resistance background character? Oh, it says or non-resistance. So
yeah.
Gosh, I don't know. I'm not good on the spot. What do you got, John? Anything popping out?
The one that came to mind that I always liked when he was first introduced in some sort of still was from The Last Jedi was Vober Dand.
Mm-hmm.
He is a Tarsant, and just the big shoulders, and he's just like just standing there. He's like, I really care about this cause. My physical limitations prevent me from doing as much as I would like to, but I want everyone to know that I'm a part of the resistance, and that's Vober Dand to me. And I just smile every time I see him.
I'm gonna be honest. Mine isn't a resistance character. My favorite background character, I don't know if this counts, but I think it does, is Luleo Primock from Star Wars Solo: A Star Wars Story. The green dude in the glass jar that's singing in the lounge. I loved him from the moment he came on screen. I've been obsessed with him ever since. We have had no merch of him. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And when we interviewed John Powell about Chicken in the Pot, which is one of my favorite Star Wars songs, I was geeking out totally about like how the song came about, what was, it was originally one language and the tones. And I like the deeper Luleo Primock, which was named by Pablo Hidalgo after the singer in real life. What is it? Louis Prima? Louis Prima? The
Oh
guy?
yeah. Yeah.
That's what he named it after.
That is a fun character. Yeah.
I love it.
Well,
I'm
James,
obsessed.
stew on it, and if it pops in your head, it pops in your head.
Oh,
You know.
Well, no, I got one. I was gonna say, I do always love Nine Numb, who shows up in just really quickly in the background sort of The Force Awakens, and he's carrying his big giant helmet and stuff. That it's sort of a background character, sort of not, because he's famous for other movies, but I loved that. But I also want to mention when Poe is sitting there and he's like, he sees Holdo for the first time, and he's like, "That's Holdo," and he like leans over to the other guy. I don't know the guy's name, but he's like, like, what, like, why are you asking me?
It's Kai Threnali.
Kai Threnali.
Yes.
I always thought that the line that they give, the direction, I should say, they give to him is like, Poe's gonna point out this character and like as if you guys are best friends, like, that's this person, like, I would have never expected. And your reaction is just to be, I like, almost like, I don't even know what language you're speaking, dude. Like, it's just like,
I think he tries to stop him from going to talk to her, because I think he goes Poe like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
does he?
He does.
Nice.
And I think he might be Elo Asti's brother. I know that they're the same species, but I don't know.
People are saying in the chat, I totally agree. Like, Therm Scissor Punch was such a good character.
Oh, I mean, if we start going to
It's all,
every
background character,
I
yeah,
know.
Solos,
Yeah.
like, as
I
a bunch,
know.
yeah, like as you said, but man, geez.
Yeah.
There's so many. I think, top one's probably Luleo Primoc. I think after him is probably the Mandalorian sweater calamari that Frank played.
Oh gosh,
That's
yeah.
just like so disappointed
yeah.
and annoyed.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that just was our buddy Frank being himself. Like, that's who that character is, and
Yeah.
I totally feel for that character.
I
No, that
like
was very
Return of the
cool.
Jedi Mon Cala that doesn't know where to look. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That stupid stuff is the best.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Next up is Lando C. Thank you so much, Lando. He said, just wanted to pop in and say best of luck on your next chapter, James. Thanks for all the great Star Wars content. DiGiorno's pizza night on me.
heck yeah, man! I used to swear by DiGiorno's stuffed crust. Oh man, I'd make that thing and eat the entire pizza myself.
I've been making my own pizza lately. I actually really enjoy it. It's really fun. I suggest it to all people. Make your
I
own
still would prefer you buy me a pizza when I win the bet. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. All right.
Thanks,
Fort
Lando C.
Worthian's up. Yeah, Lando C, you're the best. Fort Worthian, thank you so much. Said super chat for the man, the myth, legend. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Fort
Nice.
Worthian. Nice.
All right. And that is
All
it
right.
for now with the super chats.
So, questions. We will start off with Star Wars Steve. And James, he wants to know, what are you on to next?
Oh gosh, nothing. Honestly, like, I know I said this and it's been quickly sort of not glossed over, but taken as like a leaving for family sort of thing. Honestly, the podcast just takes up a lot of time. And so like me to leave the podcast just to do something else is not really where I'm at right now. I think one of the things that I wanted to do was I just wanted to sort of have like my day job, and then know that when it's 5 o'clock, like I can be free to mentally handle anything else around the house, which there have been all sorts of projects that I need to work on. And just the kind of weight of always there, like at any moment, there could be another trailer or some news that maybe needs a short or something. I just sort of, after 7 years, I was like, I do want to be able to feel mentally available and not always thinking about what's the next thing for the podcast and how do we achieve this goal or what's the next thing. I just kind of want to go, how do I finish that project in my backyard and in my kitchen and handle this paint thing that needs to happen and all sorts of other stuff just around the house and the family. I just kind of wanted to mentally be able to focus on that and and as unfortunate as it is, the biggest obstacle to that is the side hustle, if you will, of the Resistance broadcast. I spent so much time thinking about it that it's just have nothing right now on my radar but to sort of say, like, what big plans do you have on your vacation? Sit on the beach. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of work goes into this pod that it goes beyond the time that people watch and listen and stuff. So I hear you, buddy. All right, let's go to the next question from Gary24 fan, who said, do you think we'll see what's in those cloning cylinders? I think it's Palpatine's clone bodies. Hashtag ask the Resistance. So Bad Batch. I don't think it's Palpatine's clone bodies. I think it could be dead bodies of high MCAL people. Because we saw that in Obi-Wan.
Don't like that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. James, what do you think? Do you think we're seeing like some Snokes and test tubes and some Dathans? And
so we went to a place in season 2 that had all these like test tube facility things, and I think maybe that's where they were probably keeping the graveyard of attempts. Sort of in retrospect, I think at the time we were like, oh, look, they're doing all these testing. But I think maybe if you're right, there's maybe they're dead bodies. I almost venture to bet that the ones we've seen before are probably the dead storage of things that they've tried. And that's what was so ominous about that planet. I wonder if the stuff that's happening on Tantus is the active development stuff, and it actually might be more along the lines of like, these are the closest things we have right now. This is the state of the art. Some of them might look like Palpatine. Some of them might look like Rey's dad. I don't know, and I don't know if honestly, if that's supposed to be the same person. Like, is that what Sheev Palpatine looked like when he was that age? Is that what we were going for? I don't know. I don't think some of these have been totally answered yet. So let's see.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. Well, yeah, we will see soon, hopefully. Unless they're like, just kidding. Now we're going to go on to the next show and we'll tell you then. All right. Next, we have Chris Morales back at it. Christian Morales. What character cameo would you like to see in Star Wars Outlaws? I'll just throw out Boba Fett.
Yeah. Afra?
Okay.
But it's very similar to the main character, so I don't know that they do that.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian.
Gosh.
How old would he be? Was he Mandalorianing back then? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, it would have been, I don't know, roughly six years or so.
I mean, more than that. Because between Empire and Jedi, and Mando's like...
Well, I guess I was just thinking a little bit before Return of the Jedi, would be...
I think they should go to his planet. If he's I don't know where he is though. Is he doing the Mando thing or is he still a kid?
I mean, also Bo-Katan or some of these other characters that are prominent Mandalorians could show up from the show. Yeah.
All right.
I like those.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you, Christian. Next, we'll go to Frank. We have a couple more here. Want to try to get to them all. Frank Grande said, do you think Palpatine's clone / Rey's father will make an appearance at the end of Bad Batch? So here you go, James.
I just answered it, I think.
Like in an end credit scene of him in a cloning chamber. So, I mean, we just sort of answered that, Frank. It's very possible that we're going to see something like that. It may not necessarily be him, but it's possible. Yeah.
That's where it seems like it's all leading. And I think I said in one of the episodes too, like, it feels odd to think that the good guys are totally going to win in the Bad Batch, because we obviously know that all this bad stuff that's going on is successful in the future. So no matter how the show ends up, we at least know that like the research that has been going on will not be destroyed or ended. It will be like, it has to finish the direction they're going. Project Necromancer is successful in the long run. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Super
Let's
chat.
go to a super chat.
So we have a super chat from Darth Snips. What up? She said, I think we also need a shout out while James is leaving us for the honeydew list. No, really, we'll miss you tons. But John and Lacey are staying with us. Hearts. Thanks to all of you. Thank you so much. We're very excited to keep talking about Star Wars. Who doesn't like talking about Star Wars? Appreciate it.
Alive.
Thanks, Darth
Thank you,
Snips.
Darth Snips. Let's go to Darth Snips again with
Whoa.
a question. Do you think that D. Bradley Baker records all Bad Batch voices separately, or he changes between the characters on the fly, having a conversation with himself?
I would think that as someone that has done voice work before, that he would do them separately. But I'm pretty sure at a panel at Celebration, he admitted he does them back to back. And people have said they've been in the recording booth with him where they're talking and he's doing all the voices.
I believe that is the correct answer.
I think
I would
Ashley brought
imagine
that up.
that he does do them separately on occasion for some reasons, but he has the natural ability to actually flow between them in a recording session.
Because I think Ashley brought it up, Ashley Eckstein, when she was playing Ahsoka, and she'd talk and he'd do, because he does a bunch of different voices, that he is able to just kind of snap between them real quick. Like he's that good.
Yeah. I remember watching South Park 6 Days to Air, and Trey Parker will just like reposition his body to do a different character to give himself that feel, and then he'll like go like this and do the other character, and it's beyond hysterical if you haven't watched that yet. So
Yeah.
I would imagine he probably does the same thing. I bet we could probably find out the answer if he hasn't given one already, because
Kyle B
he's
said that
still-
he read the script to Anaheim and he was able to switch between them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's good stuff. What a gig. So cool. All right. Let us go to David Ford, and we will get to these next three. No, we will do these next. We'll do this last one. This is gonna be it. We gotta close out because we have more to do. But this is from David Ford. Will Cassian Andor ever get a movie? LOL. Look at this guy with the Rogue One. All right. Thank you, David.
No.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for all those questions, for the super chats, for all the kind words for James and the future of TRB at the same time. We are excited. So it certainly is a bittersweet situation, but we're not done. James is going to be on with us for the 700th episode of TRB on Monday, where we're going to do sort of like what we do when we hit these milestones, is look back on the pod. But we're also going to talk about a lot of Star Wars topics as well. But until then, thanks again to everybody. Whether you join us live or you're listening after the fact, spread the word. Keep telling people about the podcast. Just make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff. We appreciate that very much. And of course, patreon.com/resistance broadcast if you want to support us. Tiers start at $5. And a very special shout out to our generals and spice runners. We have Carmelo, John RISI, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, and Jolton Jedi DiMaggio. And the Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, KENDALL, GELNER, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and THEFORTWORTHIAN. A reminder for Monday, at the end of the show, Lacey and I will sort of reveal what our immediate next steps are. And then just stay tuned for what's ahead. We are excited. We have a lot of things in mind, but we will get to that later. But in the meantime, for me, Johnny Hoey on X, and those other two that seem to be stalling out, Blue Sky, Threads, or whatever. And my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We'll be doing actually Usual Suspects next week. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at Lacey Gilleran. I almost said Lady Gilleran. Lacey Gilleran. And then please subscribe and follow us on TRB Podcasts on all social channels. It means a lot to us, and it lets us know how we're doing. You can share stuff from the podcast so that people can see it and find us. Yeah.
Spread the word throughout the land. James, last live show. Let's put it in the books. Where can people find you? And then we'll see you Monday.
Yeah, so just a reminder to everyone that the Bad Batch reaction show is going through the rest of the series. So even though this is my last show or last live show, and then Monday will be my last show on Resistance broadcast, there will still be episodes on the next 3 Wednesdays of the Bad Batch, with the last one being the series finale and my last contribution to the show. And then as far as social media goes, another quick reminder, it's at Myra Trunks on Instagram and Twitter. If you guys think that I'm gone forever, no one's ever really gone. I am there. So if you have a thought, you want to say, hey, this reminds me of something you said on the show, or what was your thought on this episode of the Acolyte, or whatever you want, I am still around. I'm reachable. So there is that. Come and say hi whenever you guys want.
Absolutely. And on that note, we hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. And yeah, the 3 of us will be with you on Monday for TRB 700. I don't know how many podcasts reach 700 episodes. We are, and we're not done yet. But wow, 700 episodes is mind-blowing. And that's not even counting stuff like Mando Fan Show. We're probably around 800, honestly. But anyway, everyone, have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time right here on the Resistance broadcast. See you around, kids.